Let's start with introducing
Yeah,
ourselves so that people can
figure
know who
out
we
who's
are.
who and what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with Max.
Oh God. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess since this was all my idea.
Yeah.
um,
Go with.
I go by Max. My name is I
Mm.
use he him pronouns. I've been writing since I was in first grade, and I'm currently working on an Outlast fanfic and also an Outlast poetry collection because there's something wrong with me.
Ah,
Nice.
Thank you. Good introduction, huh?
nice. Good intro. Who's next?
Um, so I'm Dibs, and I just write whatever stuff. I get distracted a lot, so it ends up being
Alright.
different things every single time I end up making a video. Lots of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, we don't know what's going to get brought up, so just I'm writing stuff.
I
There
am
we go.
writing stuff.
Yeah.
I'm writing
That
words.
sums us all up.
I
I
like
am
it.
writing stuff.
Okay, Nila.
Right. So, hi, I go by Nila. I like to call myself a writer, though most of the time that consists of me staring at a blank screen or discussing with my friends about what I'm gonna write and writing nothing in the end. Usually I also have a lot of plot bunnies that spawn a bunch of ideas and a bunch of works. But for the last 1.5 months or so, I'm working on my so-called magnum opus, which is Antaratman, the work I talk about in my videos. It's recently crossed 50K, so it's a big deal for me. And I write very infrequently because medical school.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, isn't that all of us just calling ourselves writers and then just talking about things we might write one day?
Yeah.
Yeah, that thumbs us up.
The first topic that we wanted to talk about was how we started writing.
Right, writing this particular work or writing in general?
In general, I think.
In general. Okay, who goes first?
Who wants to go first?
Last time Max went first, so this time it should be either Dibs or me. Dibs, you choose.
Okay, I'll go, I guess. So, writing in
Okay.
general.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, I've been reading for as long as I've had the ability, so I guess I've been on that wavelength for ages. And then thing is, my issue with being really slow at writing is like
Mhm.
something that's pretty consistent and has been the case since the beginning of time. So I
Uh,
never got much written when I was in like primary school. Like I would write things, but I wouldn't finish anything. I finished one thing in primary school. It wasn't very long,
okay.
but I did like it. It was about a snail. No, it was about a slug who found a shell and
Oh.
became a snail,
Oh.
and it was very cool. And that was when I was like
And then,
10. And then high school, well, in primary school, there was a creative writing club. Again, didn't finish anything there. High school, also a creative writing club. Didn't finish anything there. And then throughout school, I kind of ditched it. Like I haven't really been doing it. And then I was mostly doing drawing. Um, we did writing as part of our
uh-huh.
GCSE English. And then kind of
Right.
the last year or two, I've kind of been picking it back up as a hobby.
Oh,
And so
okay,
that's
gotcha.
fun.
Right. Who goes next? Shall I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so my tryst with writing, so to speak, started off when I was 7, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, it started off because my mom's an English teacher. She wanted me to be, good at this kind of stuff, like writing answers on my own and all. So basically, we started off with me doing school writing, learning to write answers on my own. And since I'm me and I have this overactive imagination that ends up with me talking to myself, I started writing stories.
Nice.
Nice.
And that's been going consistently from the age of 7 till now. Like I didn't ever take a break. But of late, like for the last 2 to 3 years, writing's been more of a stress buster to me, a distraction, as well as something I can think of when things are bad, like a lot of exams coming up. And
Nice.
in my life, there are a lot of them coming up all the time. So yeah.
Damn education, who needs it?
Nah, if you just go straight and go skewer a patient or something, that's a no. So education's needed in
Uh,
this. Max, you go next.
Okay. So I started writing in kind of a weird way. I started writing in first grade, where it was
Right.
around Halloween, I think, where our teachers were like, "Here, write this scary story." And I didn't really have any ideas, so I plagiarized an entire Goosebumps episode and then also some like scary zombies from like a Mario game or something.
nah.
You wrote a scary story in grade one. What, those teachers wanted to give you nightmares or something?
Yeah, it was like a little spooky story. And I felt so bad because I plagiarized this whole idea. And obviously I'm using plagiarize super heavily because I was like 7. But anyway, um,
You probably didn't know what plagiarism was at that point.
no,
You
I
were
definitely
7.
didn't. I think it's funny that I copied the whole idea and my teacher was like, "This is incredible. You're going to be a writer one day." And because I'm a people pleaser, I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that, sure."
Like, yes,
And
this was all me.
yeah, I was like, "Absolutely."
I plagiarized Percy Jackson when I was 9, I think.
We all have that phase. But
I didn't know what plagiarism meant in my defense.
yeah.
So, plus I didn't even know Percy Jackson like existed and it was like a real book. So, it's a moot point. It's not plagiarism when you don't know it exists.
Yeah, I agree.
And,
But
and then
yeah.
what, Max?
Yeah, so
We all had phases when we were miniature plagiarists. All right,
miniature
next.
plagiarist. So yeah, just because
So,
I'm a people pleaser, I was just like, yeah, sure. And so I kept writing and I didn't stop. And then I became kind of serious about it when I was around like 13 years old, I think.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty
then
much it. Yeah, I
that's pretty much it.
I started this really god awful book called The Finest Trick, which I don't like to talk about because it was just so bad. But it was like a YA, supposed to be a mystery book,
Oh,
but it really
YA.
wasn't.
Okay. YA is a genre that freaks me out half of the time.
It can be a pretty scary genre.
No, I'd rather read horror than YA at this point because, yeesh. Like, it's very hard to pick YA books that are actually nice.
Yeah, I know some of them, but I agree. It's hard.
Yeah, like, it's hard because some are really beautiful gems, but then you have to traverse through an ocean full of trash for that. And then you're like, no, I don't want to do this.
I have it pulled up here. The second topic was openings in books and how we write slash plan them.
Right. So, can I go first for this one?
Yeah.
Yes,
Because I've only ever talked about one book and I'm gonna keep talking about that book, so I guess that's
go for
uniform.
it.
Right, so as I said, my book deals with Indian mythical history. Actually, right now it's more in the realm of mythology than history, but I want to do a less supernatural reimagination of the whole thing. And when it comes to cultural mythical history and stuff, there are a lot of versions of the same story. So scholars in our country, they picked up a particular version and they were like, all right, this is what we curated from the 1,200 plus versions that are sitting around. So I
Yeah,
wanted to do a retelling of that um, canonized version, basically the what is closest to the original source material that the story goes out in the world in a way filtered through me, of course, because I'm a writer, but also as close to authenticity as I can, because this story is, it has a lot of interpretations and a lot of misinterpretations, and there are literal communal wars going about it. So yeah, so I kind of wanted to make sure that the more authentic version reaches to people.
Hmm.
In that's like according to me at least, because we're all authors, we have hubris to deal with.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
but as for book openings, usually what I do is like the prologue is written in the point of view of a character that's not the exact main character, but related to the main character in question in a very close way. So, since this book is basically chronicling the entire life journey of one person in his point of view, the prologue I found it fitting to tell, how he was born, his birth. Obviously, I can't tell that from the point of view of a fetus. So, I picked his mom as the prologue character, and from the first chapter, it's him. It's Arjun who talks. Like everything is in first person. I. So I just just the prologue I separated from the rest of the book, and the book actual starts in the childhood of the young man in question. Right now he is about 21, so yeah, he's just becoming an adult, I guess, and
Cool.
I'll carry the story on till his till his decline and death and everything. So it's a very long story. I think it'll span like 3 books.
That's
Whoa.
interesting. Do you do a prologue
Yeah.
for all of your projects?
Most of my projects, yes, I do a prologue.
I haven't done a prologue
I
in a really long time.
yeah. What makes you gravitate towards them,
Uh,
do you think?
for some reason, I think a prologue gives me a better perspective of where I want to carry the project to. So yes, I do a prologue most of the time. Actually, all my mythical, historical works, and even the idea I have of combining, time travel sci-fi like book, everything includes a prologue.
Hmm. Cool.
No. Do
Yeah.
you put in much specific thought into first sentences or first paragraphs?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Do you put much like conscious thought into first lines, first sentences, or first paragraphs?
No, not really. I just go with the flow. When I am starting off a prologue or a first chapter, what I usually have is a vague background idea of where I want to take the chapter, and I just go with the flow after that. Since this is a first person book, I basically have to put myself in the shoes of that character. So, no, I can't exactly put a lot of conscious thought because I'm not writing as me, I'm writing as him. So, yes.
I personally put a lot of thought and intention into the first line. Not so much the first paragraph, but at least the first line, because in my opinion,
Get it?
it's the hook, and um,
Yeah, you need to hook the reader in.
yeah, I always want it to be something that summarizes what's happening in a concise and interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's good at
What about
setting
you?
tone and intention.
Mhm. Yeah, what about you,
Yeah, like,
Dips?
so.
Uh, thing is, I've started so many things and I never finish them. Um,
Okay, so pick whatever you like the best, I guess.
um, it really depends on what I'm writing for what reason. With like fanfic and stuff like that, because you're working off an already established continuity,
Mhm.
you don't need to put
Mm,
as much effort into exposition.
That's true.
mm,
So it's not quite as important. But when you are working with more original stuff, I think it's
I think
um,
my work is kind of between fan fiction and original stuff.
yeah,
Mine
I
is at
think
that
that's
point.
yeah,
Super
same.
kids.
I think when it comes to that, you do need to put a lot more thought into it.
Mhm.
Um, mine, my first paragraph, first line in the current one I'm writing about Ghost, is
Oh,
important to,
the one we were talking about yesterday.
yeah, that one.
The ghost and the dude who has bad history with a
Yeah,
bunch of baddies.
yeah, it's a whole thing. But I wanted to, like, even
You
though
know,
it's not,
I literally went to AO3 and searched the dude out. I was like, this dude is interesting.
yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
And
Unfortunately, I know nothing of the universe, so I struggled making sense of it. But I like the dude.
yeah, he's lots of fun. So I think for my first thing there, I didn't necessarily put like much thought into like the craftsmanship of the sentences as much as I was the tone I was conveying and the imagery that I was establishing.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's set on the North York Moors, which is, somewhere that I'm quite familiar with and is quite ghosty because it's a moor, which is spooky by
um,
itself. And
but the
then,
dude isn't actually a ghost, right? I mean, in the canon universe per
yeah, in
se.
Star Wars, well, he is um, for the later films in the timeline, but like for the prequels, which is where I'm kind of
For
putting
the
him, he
prequels,
doesn't
is
die.
basically he's the guy's teacher or something.
Yeah, so in the prequels, Obi-Wan is alive. He's teaching Anakin, and then in the original films, where Luke Skywalker is, not Anakin,
I
Luke,
honestly don't care about Luke Skywalker at this
not me
point.
neither. He's funny as an idea, but I don't really care about him that much. But he's Anakin's son, and Obi-Wan kind of got dragged into teaching him, and then Obi-Wan died, and so he had to kind of continue as a ghost to say, "Hey, bro, maybe
Yeah,
continue being a
gotcha.
Jedi, please. Don't give up on that." And Luke's like, I guess so."
As someone
Um,
who
and
knows
and it looks
absolutely
like what?
as someone who knows absolutely nothing about Star Wars, hearing the sentence, I don't care at all about Luke Skywalker or whatever it was, is so funny.
I mean, he's
Hey,
funny.
bro,
He has an amazing.
I don't know anything about Star Wars either, except for the AO3 search I did on Anakin Skywalker. Literally,
Yeah. But in this thing that I'm writing, well, in
Obi-Wan
canon,
Kenobi as a ghost.
yeah, in canon, in episode one, there's the Battle of Naboo, in which Obi-Wan's Jedi Master, his teacher, is killed. And I'm making it so that in an equivalent event in this timeline, Obi-Wan was killed
Is
instead.
that guy Dooku or something?
Something I was gonna say was, I feel like when it comes to first lines, you
Mm-hmm.
have a lot more leeway with fanfic where people are already invested in the characters and what's happening than you do with
I
original
agree.
fiction.
Absolutely.
Agreed. I just started off my original fiction. I'm not sure whatever I've written. I think I'm just going in medias res and not a prologue in this one because original fiction.
Mhm.
But in that one, you have to work a lot on first lines to establish either a character moment or the world around the character.
Mhm. And what's happening.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely the best advice I've ever had when it comes to beginnings is to start late, as they call it, where you start as far into the action as you can without people getting confused. So,
Yep, in medias res when everything's going on.
Yeah.
yeah, there's like a sweet
Kinda.
spot where you pick the part where there's just as far into the story as you can get, but without missing
Yeah.
anything. So like
But like so that the reader can make sense of what the hell is going on.
right. So like with Super Kids, my superhero AU thing, um it didn't make sense for me to start any earlier than when Virgil got his powers because I could like have done some stupid fluffy exposition about like how his life was before he got his powers, but it wasn't really necessary. So I
I
just
get it.
started right when he got his powers and everything changed.
Got it.
Yeah, and that works well for that story
Yeah.
because you
It
kind of get the
does.
impression of what his life was like, even in when you're starting
Yeah,
that late.
cause like he's shaped by the events of his life. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
right.
Are there any like this is just a slightly off-kilter question. Are there any like first lines and stuff you've read that you think work really well or that stick with you?
Um,
To be honest, if you put me on the line like that, I can't remember any.
let me see for a second.
Because I've got at the minute here, I just finished reading
Uh,
it a few hours ago.
Harry Potter's first line, I guess. The Dursleys are normal people. Thank you very much.
That's a good one. Um, there's I finished reading a book this morning. It's called
Mhm.
Railhead that has a really good one that's good at it does a lot of things at once with setting tone and also kind of giving you the
And
sense of what the rules of the world is.
right.
I have a really good one.
Okay, go.
So there's a death trigger warning if everyone is okay with that.
Oh, no issues. We are all fan fiction writers.
Okay, so this is from Adam Silvera's History is All You Left Me, and the first line is, "You're still alive in alternate universes, Theo, but I live in the real world where this morning we are having an open casket funeral," which I think is a really good first line.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really
that's a
good.
good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, because it kind of gets across A, what's happening, B, what has happened, and
Mm,
kind of see what the point of view
will
character's
happen.
kind of attitude is.
Yeah.
D punches you in the face.
How they're gonna deal with the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's so yeah, Railhead has a good first paragraph. I don't know if you want to hear the whole thing.
Yeah, sure.
What, you're going for a paragraph? Go for it.
Yeah, so because it's good at kind of establishing the rules of the universe, as it were, really
Mm-hmm.
subtly. So it
Gotcha,
starts
gotcha.
with listen. He was running down Harmony when he heard it, faint at first, but growing clearer, rising above the
Hmm.
noises of the streets. Out in the dark, beyond the city, a siren voice was calling, lonely as the song of whales. It was the sound he had been waiting for. The Interstellar Express was thundering down the line from Golden Junction and singing as it came. So that kind of establishes the
That
importance
kind of
of,
establishes the importance of the whatever he's hearing, I
yeah,
guess.
the trains.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
too.
the trains.
It's
Like
it's
it
really
also establishes his character as someone who is, how do I put it? I can't put a finger on it, but
on the
it does
run.
establish his character. Like he's nervous and he's running from something.
Yeah, and it establishes kind of subtly the fact that the trains in this universe they sing, they're sentient, they're kind of big, beautiful things that impose upon the world around them.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely agree. It was a really pretty opener.
Yeah, it was really nice.
yeah,
So good
it
job,
is.
Philip Reeve.
But I also have the feeling that, more than first lines, arc lines matter too.
Ah, yeah,
Like in a book, in a story you're writing, there will be a particular theme of the story that keeps repeating over and over.
Mhm.
ah, yeah,
Right. So, like for example, in the Kite Runner, uh, I think that's a fairly famous book. Most of
yeah.
you would
I've
have.
read it for
Okay.
school.
Yeah, so the line for you 1,000 times over,
Oh, yeah.
that one was like, ouch. Like it's a
Oh,
repeating arc line, and it's beautiful in a way because it's so poignant that through generations it carries over.
yeah. And it kind of it's the line that represents selflessness and dedication to someone else, which is something that kind of gets told to the main character really early on in the book,
Yeah,
and then it comes back when
yeah.
he's finally learnt to kind of let himself
Uh,
be in someone else's service.
exactly. Like before that, he was just, self-absorbed. And then
Yeah,
the and then Hassan came along, and he's the person who literally basically gave himself over to him for
yeah,
you 1,000 times over. And then a generation later, when he, rescues Hassan's son, it's like a full circle, an arc completing, and I'm like,
This
yeah.
sounds like a
this
really
works.
sad book.
It is. It just
It
gets worse and
is.
worse the more you go on. Like you hit like chapter 7,
Khalid
big bad thing
Hosseini's
happens.
all books are freaking sad. All of
Yeah,
his books.
nothing good
This
happens.
one, this one, and the one where 1,000 suns are there. Like I don't remember the exact
Yeah,
title. Ten
yeah, that's
thousand
it.
suns, something like that.
If we're
Yeah.
talking
Uh,
about recurring lines slash themes, the
hmm.
one that I just read actually from History is All You Left Me, the whole alternate universe thing is something that comes up again and again and again in that book. It's something that they talk about a lot. Well, it's something that Theo and Griffin talked about before Theo died a lot about like what might be happening in alternate universes between them. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a first line that kind of punches you even harder when you reread it.
Yeah,
I get
good.
it. Have you written any outlines?
um,
Uh,
Probably. It's like what you said earlier. I feel on the spot.
I'm trying to think of ones if I've got any. Um, you had that one in that poem that we went over this morning.
Oh
Um,
yeah, we just
I hope he got what he gave.
yeah, so I wrote a poem about this sounds so fucked up. I wrote a poem about a
Sorry.
cannibal.
Hardcore. Okay, next.
And one of the lines was like maybe halfway through the poem it said something about like and oh the doctors, I guess they got what they gave. And then the end of the poem is I wonder what happened to
Uh,
the
um,
cannibal. I hope he got what he gave, something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
wow, like that's chilling, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sitting in the middle of a medical hospital, it sounds even more chilling to me. Like, man,
Uh,
no.
I,
What about you, Dibs?
I don't know. None that are coming to mind, although I have ditched most of my writing stuff recently. I've only been working on one of them. Oh, oh. So there's this one thing that I wrote. It's called Make This Chaos Count, which is a yoinked lyric from a song by Sleeping at Last. But it's
Mm-hmm.
a book that I'm quite proud of, or like a story that I'm quite proud of, that I'm not entirely responsible for. It's a prequel, I guess, to a film, but like kind of it runs off a really cracky concept, so it's like not at all feasible.
So
But
you're basically like, this whole thing is chaos. I'm warning you already, okay?
yeah, because it starts off with the concept: what if the bad guy was just in love with this random side character, or like an original version of this clone side character?
Nice.
So, um, the story deals with this guy called Merrick, who kind of his partner dies really early on, and then he kind of goes into a bit of a mad scientist spiral and clones him.
Whoa. Whoa.
Um,
Like,
and and
yeah, I got what you meant by crack.
yeah, so the most of the story is concerned with this relationship with this clone, who isn't at all the
Mm-hmm.
same person. And um, there's a bit not too long before it comes back again, but where the clone kind of, well, Merrick kind of ends up doing a bunch of poor choices in terms of a business venture, so he has to be away from home a lot, and the clone gets really
You
lonely.
really like people who make poor choices, don't you?
I mean, he does have to be the villain in the main film, so and so he's not at home a lot, and the clone's getting lonely. So it's like, okay, I'll give you a phone then. And the clone says, okay, that's fine, and then kind of calls him like obsessively a lot because he's really lonely. And then one day he calls him and just silence. And the guy's like, "What are you doing?" And the clone's like, "It's okay. We can just. It'll be like if we're just in the same room together. We're not saying anything, but we are together." And the guy's like, "Oh." And then
Oh,
heads up for death.
Oh
Clone
no.
dies a few scenes later. Um,
uh,
yeah,
why
and
are you doing this to
yeah, and the narration goes something like
me? So, from what
Merrick
I
could
got out of
almost.
it, Dibs likes to write angst.
Yeah, I do. I really do. And the narration goes, Merrick could almost hear the click of a phone line disconnecting when the
Oh.
clone dies. And then at the
Oh,
very end,
damn.
when the facility's all set up and they've got this whole business venture involving cloning, Guy clones a new version, but he's like, all this bad stuff happens, so I'm just going to step back. This guy's going to be alive, and that's going to have to be enough. Like, I'll be in the same room, we'll be together, but we won't be able to talk. It'll be like those phone calls, and
Oh.
that's how he's left with just
Ouch.
a
Dude,
silent
you're
phone call, but it's his
basically
entire
killing the
life.
guy
Yeah.
Damn.
inside.
So that's that story. I really like it.
It's sad.
So you like angst and wumping and hurting, it seems. I
Yes,
get
I
it.
do. I do.
I get it.
There is no comfort to that hurt.
No, I mean it's really fluffy as a story, but like it does
It deals with dark
it does
stuff.
hit hard. Yeah, there's quite a lot of death in that one.
So I guess it's my turn to talk about arc lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a major part of the story deals with morality and how, like what is right in a situation might not exactly be what you are able to do in the situation. Because
Yeah.
as a character, as a person, you have a lot of a lot of things that bind you to responsibilities. Like you have to think about family, you have to think about yourself, you have to think about how this is going to affect other people, all those things, especially considering that the main character I'm writing about is a prince. And like one of he's a very a well-known warrior, and his family dynamics are frigging dysfunctional. So
Yeah.
like the main conflict the character faces is doing what is objectively right and choosing what he has to do in this situation as the right thing. Like what will be right if I do, I mean, if I make the what is the right choice in the long run.
Yeah.
So the arc words I use actually in Sanskrit, dharma means duty, the right kind of
Yeah.
duty. Okay, so it's an arc line for that this character from childhood. He's reminded that you have to choose your dharma to your family. You have to choose your duty to your family because your cousins are trying to kill the hell out of us, and you and your other brother are basically the reason you're still alive. So you gotta keep choosing us. And that is basically something that makes him choose family over and over above his own self,
Hmm.
because he's basically been taught that from a very very young age. And I want the reader to understand that particular part of it from his point of view. Like he even wonders if he actually has a choice, but he chooses it anyway. So that is the arc line. Like it keeps repeating that I have to choose my family because without me they won't be able to survive.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Looks like I like writing angst too.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's just such an addicting sort of thing to write.
It really is, though. Angst is
Yeah.
the best.
So,
It makes you feel
next
something.
question, I guess.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
third topic was how we handle Act 1.
How we handle Act 1. Okay, Dibs goes first.
Oh
Or
God.
who
Okay.
who does?
Well, I
Yeah,
guess
Dibs
since
can
I'm
go
one who tends
first this time.
to use arc
Dibs.
structure, yeah. Which so I like to when I do plot out stuff, which isn't very often, because I get
Mm-hmm.
stuck in the planning stage. But when I do it thoroughly or try to, I usually start with the act structures straight away. I kind of go, this
Right.
is what the story's going to be. This is what each act is going to be. Then this is what each sequence within the act is going to be, and then this is what each scene is going to be. So I work down.
Right.
Um,
Mm.
so Act One, um, on a surface level, it's about exposition, I guess, is
Right.
the most obvious thing.
Yeah,
But
because you
it's
gotta establish things in Act 1.
yeah, you've got to kind of get all that stuff out of the way, as it were. But I
Mm.
think more to the point, it's about establishing like the status quo of the world, but also
Yeah.
kind of the things that motivate your character or the events that happen to motivate your character or establish why they can't go back to where they were. Because
Mm-hmm.
usually that's where Act One ends, is when they kind of end up in that point of no return.
Right.
So
Yeah.
getting Act One is about getting them to that point, making it seem convincing, making it seem legit, and kind of making sure that the readers are along for the ride.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
that's that, I think.
Gotcha. What about you, Max?
So I use the Blake Snyder beat sheet pretty religiously, and I agree with what most of Dib said about how it's about establishing what motivates your character and why they can't go back once that point of no return hits. I think something that's really important that a lot of people forget about is there's a portion in the Blake Snyder beat sheet that's called the debate. It happens after the catalyst, but before the break into two, where so after the call to action, basically the main plot point is displayed, I guess. There's a period of debate where the character is wondering, like, if they should go through with whatever decision they're trying to make and why and what would be good for them. And I think it's really important because it, one, it helps establish what's important to your character, but it also talks about how,
They deal with things.
right. Mhm. And then after
Right, that
that, you
makes
go into
sense.
the
I
break into
agree.
two, which is a decision that your character makes. So, I usually handle Act
Yeah.
1 by following the beat sheet and adjusting it how each work in progress needs, because not every work in progress will use the same exact
Yeah,
beats.
because different like it's different subject matters, the beats were different.
Yeah, different projects require different touches. So, but for the most part, I can really trust the beat sheet and just
Did
make
Dibs
little
go out
adjustments.
again?
I'm back.
Hi.
Right. Hi.
Just ignore me when I drop out. It's fine.
Okay. But yeah, that's all I had to say really. I follow the beat sheet.
So, as for me, I'm kind of confused what Act 1 is, to be honest, because like I have three books. So Act 1 is either like Act 1 of the first book or like the first book in totality. So
Yeah,
kind
I've written
of confusing.
I've planned out a trilogy before, and I kind of treat the first book as Act One to the whole story, but then you have to have an Act One within that first book.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I'll talk about the first act in the first book. Right. So like in the first, since this is about one particular character, the first act will obviously be his childhood.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we start off with a very young child. We start off with the way he grows, way life changes. There are a lot of, there are major deaths in the middle, and death is always a catalyst. So how he adapts to that change, how they go where they should, how he actually, one of the most defining characters of that particular character is that he is endlessly curious. And also, that guy is basically, as a child, as even as an adult, he is someone who's endlessly questing to learn. In our country, I think the last time I and Dibs had this, and the name Arjuna is basically synonymous to an ideal student.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So him being a student is a major part of his character, the kind of how he deals with challenges. He basically is like, all right, I'll do this, let's see what
Yeah.
happens. So yeah, so it establishes his character as someone who's unafraid to do things. It establishes his character as someone who's unafraid to explore. But in a way, he's still hindered because of familial structure, because of his place in the hierarchy in the society. And the first act basically deals with him coming to the realization that it isn't as ideal as he thought it was.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Because because as a very young child, you usually think, if I'm good, then the world is good.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then as you grow, you find out, nope, bro, life is unfair either way.
Yeah. Yeah, you
So the
sure do.
first act basically deals with, the fresh-faced innocence of childhood morphing into something else. And
Mhm.
understanding that, I can do my best, but sometimes life screws you over anyway. And all you can do is try to get out of it.
Right. The thing about the first act is, at least as far as my knowledge goes, it's all about the setup. I'm pretty sure it's the shortest
Yeah.
act in the story. And
It
Agreed.
really
My first
depends.
act is the shortest.
mhm.
But
And
then again, it can also be the longest. It depends on the writing style.
I feel like if Act 1 is the longest, that is a lot of setup.
Exposition.
Well, the thing is, with different types of story, you end up
Exactly. Different styles
necessitating a
of
different
writing,
type of,
different
yeah.
types of writing.
Because,
For
like,
example, if you pick up a Song of Ice and Fire or something, my God, that one has a hell ton of exposition going around.
yeah, and then, like, you've got some stories that are following a typical sort of hero's arc or whatever, or a tragic arc. And then,
Mine
and
is
then you've,
kind of like that, I think.
and then some of them are more like the Bildungsromanz, like, the Kite Runner, where it's the
Oh
story of,
man.
it's the Kite Runner's very distinctly split into three sections that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
align
yeah,
with
yeah,
different acts, and the first one is a good third or more of the book.
Hmm.
So,
right.
which that's his childhood, and then there's a section where he's in America, and then there's a section where he
Because
goes back to Afghanistan.
basically Amir is motivated in a way, whether consciously or subconsciously, by Hassan,
Yeah. So
and
like
how
there's
he has
yeah.
an impact on his life. So
Yeah.
the portion where Hassan actually has an impact on Amir's life is the longest.
Yeah. And that's the whole first section of the book. So it
Yeah,
takes a
yeah,
while.
yeah. So
Okay,
it
that
makes
makes sense.
sense.
Yeah, because as soon as it gets out of that section, Hassan's not there anymore. So you really need to
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
make sure that that section where he is there is long enough to properly make it clear how much of an impact he
It
has.
probably make an impact because here Amir is basically motivated by what Hassan did for him, and the whole apparently inexplicable fact that his Baba liked Hassan better or whatever, right?
Yeah. So he's going through a lot of stuff in relation to Hassan, and a lot of it
Yeah.
requires the setup of the different scenes that they have set in Afghanistan in the
Yeah,
first
like
act.
so you can't just, put that whole conflict with Hassan thingy without us knowing what Hassan is, who Hassan
Yeah.
is, what has he done.
Yeah, so for some types of stories, it does necessitate quite a long first act or a first section,
Yeah, so
whereas
it depends on
others,
the kind of
it's
story
really
you're
quick.
writing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't think about it like that.
Hmm.
cool.
So I guess we're mostly done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whilst I think on, I'd like to ask a question about yours, Noah. So what
Sorry?
language are you writing yours in?
English.
So are you using Sanskrit words like they do in the Kite Runner, where they kind of use them in Sanskrit but kind of give you the idea of what they
Look,
mean?
what I'll do is basically I'll write the whole story is written in English, but
Yeah,
since the setup is ancient India, I'm basically putting in the words of the language they used for a bit of more authenticity. I'll keep a glossary in the end that
yeah,
the words are. So,
that's
but
cool.
it is English because Sanskrit is not a language that's actually spoken at this point of time.
Oh, was it not?
No, it's
That's interesting.
very it's kind of like India's Latin.
Huh.
Okay,
That's
giving it
cool.
out again. Head back dibs.
I'm back. Sorry.
You're
No
good.
props. I think we're like winding down by now. So yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
this
got through
was
everything that I
fun.
wanted to talk about.
yeah.
This was fun, and we finally had all three of us on at the same time. Thank heavens.
Yeah.
Yay!
This whole almost half a day difference you and I have, Max, is one hell of a irritating factor in here.
Yeah, what time is it for you right now?
Uh, 6 5 p.m.
5 p.m. It's 8:30 a.m. for me.
It's 6:55 p.m. It's almost 7 p.m. for me.
Oh my god. Okay,
Not
well,
too bad.
I haven't slept yet and I'm like passing out, so I'm gonna go ahead and head out. But it was really great talking to you
Yeah,
guys.
it was really good talking to you. Take rest, Max, because
Yeah.
looks like you're tired. Right. So I also, wink out. All right.
Okay,
Okay.
see you guys.
Thanks everyone for
Okay.
We'll talk.
See
watching.
you guys. Thanks for watching and
Bye.
tuning in, and thanks to you guys for turning up too. Bye.
Yeah, bye.